everyone. My name is Sarah Stoker. I am the founder and creator of the newsletter If You Know, You Know. It is a newsletter for business owners and creatives to learn about AI tools, happenings, news, all of the above. And you are on the human side of LA. Oh my gosh, not the human side of LA. We're in LA. Fun fact, Quinn and I just realized we live about 3 blocks from each other, but you are on the human side of AI. Also great. And I have Quinn here. Quinn, can you introduce yourself and tell us why we're talking today?
Hey, thanks for the intro. My name is Quinn. Apparently, I live right next to Sarah. And Quinn Halleck, I am a filmmaker, producer, and I have been using AI in my workflow for the last year or so. I've had a couple cool opportunities that have got me into this space. I got to speak at Cannes Film Festival talking about how AI and film are coming together. I have a TEDx talk coming up in about a month that I'm prepping for, and just generally I've been diving into this full steam trying to figure out how integration is going to affect more of like the artist's creative pipeline.
We love the early adopters. Can you tell us a little bit about your day-to-day right now and what entails a day in Quinn's life?
I am delicately balancing 2 different lives. One half of me is a filmmaker. I was Michael Bay's assistant for 3 years, and then from there I'm now working for the CEO of Fox, and just kind of learning what the studio pipeline is and how content is created from ideation to execution all the way to distribution.
So basically you're a double agent.
Neither one of them know about each other.
You're the James Bond of filmmaking and AI.
You're the one and only person who will say that.
Perfect. That's what the caption of this video will be.
Exactly.
No, I love it. I love it. And so Quinn, what are some of the, like in the AI space, what are some of the most recent developments that you've maybe had a specific hand in?
When you think about AI filmmaking, there's a spectrum. On one end of the spectrum, you have people who are creating experiments. It's like usually one AI artist alone. They have several tools at their disposal, and they're creating this kind of, it's oftentimes, it's very experimental. It's very kind of abstract in a lot of ways. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have studios which are doing it on a single use case scenario. So say de-aging Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones. It's like a very specific, you get ILM and they throw 30 guys and $3 million at it, and they can use AI to help that process. I think where I land on this spectrum and what I've been learning about is probably the most realistic future is what's that middle ground? What's the world where people are going to be using each tool along the entire pipeline, and how will that subsidize the larger cost, and how will that, allow us to amplify creativity amongst everybody using the tools, not replacing the artists.
Do you feel like you're kind of the one on the Fox slot, maybe percolating and poking at things and saying, hey, y'all, we should implement XYZ tool into this Excel spreadsheet process?
I'm certainly the guy knocking at the door trying to say, you guys, there's so many things that we can be doing here. There's so many things that are coming out that, they're not, it's like a big misconception that a lot of these tools are, I use the phrase broadcast ready. There's a lot of tools that are great for experimentation, but they're not necessarily, hey, this is a great idea, but then how do we copy and paste this across 20 episodes by next week? There's like a certain rigidity at a certain standard too, right? So there's some things that I see on the horizon, and there's some things that are already in front of us that we can start using day to day. And my background isn't studio at all. I mean, my background is me as a filmmaker. I'm totally doing this. Like when you ask me why I would get into AI, it's completely selfish. It's like, oh man, I get to use that tool instead of having $1 million to hire concept artists and to create an entire team. Like I can now find the world in my bedroom at midnight with Midjourney.
I know AI is literally the best brainstorming agent I've ever experienced as someone who's also worked in development. It's incredible.
Right.
I know you said you're not full-time yet in this AI space. What do you think it's going to take for you to get there?
At one hand, I want to dive into the AI space, but I know that there's a relationship between this world and that world that rely on each other, and I have to sort of know one to know the other. If I feel like if I dove only into AI, I would lose the knowledge of how the current film industry is adapting in real time, and I wouldn't really know how to apply it. Vice versa, if I was fully in the studio world, I wouldn't really understand how these AI tools could be applied. So I think there's this like yin and yang to my life of, and the casualty is I'm just overworked, but the benefit of that is like so fulfilling because I get to pull from both buckets and start to create that Venn diagram and define what integration will look like, and have fun doing it. Get to play around and make content and make films and, you know, explore, as most artists are doing right now.
What's that one sentence about necessity breeds like need or something? I'll have to pop it up on here and be like, hey, this is the actual quote.
Exactly.
But I mean, we're just artists that have a desire to create and we don't have time. So this is how we make it work. I love your sharing that experience. I would also, you mentioned a little bit about you were a kid making short films, what have you. Can you tell me who Quinn was at 8? And what were some of the things that you're doing then that you're seeing reflected in your career now?
What a nice question. Who was Quinn when I was 8? A total goofball. I don't know. Yeah, I definitely have that pretty probably stereotypical answer, which was like, I wanted to be in film since I was 8 years old. I mean, it was literally started out doing theater as like, I think literally I was 4 years old at my first
the original gateway drug. Just kidding.
The original gateway drug, right? Yeah. And then I got to maybe high school, not even middle school, and it was my brother was doing small short films. He ultimately went on to be an animator, but he and I would have these old, you know, handheld tapes, and we would just make these little short films in our backyard.
Tell me, where can we find your work? Where can we find you? Brag about yourself. What are you working on? What's like the next 6 months? What does 2024 look like for Quinn?
Absolutely, yeah. So I've partnered up with this production company called Tool. They're a great production company working on a lot of, you know, they work on a lot of national and international commercials, usually way bigger budgets than I've worked on. But they put me on their roster, and we're doing this experiment. Every month we're going to be using the latest tools and trying to create projects based off the latest tools. So my last project was this short film, Sigma 1, where we basically did what I said in practice. We took the idea of, and this is like a year ago, which was basically 10 years ago in AI talk. I mean, it was like before it was cool. And we had this idea. I was working with Mike Joy and Ian Eck, and they were these two nutty guys who really were pushing AI on this project I was working on. And ultimately it took hold, and we made this film that was about AI, and however meta, it was also using AI. And so we used it to create a film that used AI through every step of the process. So everything from helping my writer and I, Drew Marin, create the script, all the way into pre-production, my actors and I, with like the early stages of ChatGPT and other chatbots, tried to like define the characters and concept art. And then on production, we shot and in post-production, you know, VFX, working with 11 labs, working with all these different things. And so we've partnered with all these companies and all of these creators and collaborators to work on a project that said, hey, listen, like this is a canary in the coal mine for how real studio production, like, you know, I took all my Michael Bay experience of like how a real movie is made and made a movie. I mean, it was a short film. It was 15 minutes, but I mean, we didn't cut any corners on the quality of what we would have done for a feature. And so it was just an experiment. What happens when we use every tool? And the result was amplifying every artist involved. I mean, we didn't cut any artists from the production. We, in fact, had more people worked on this film than I've ever worked on a film before. It was like 100 people or something like that. It's a challenge, but that's where you can find me. Find me on Insta. You know, truthfully, I post a lot on my Instagram with tutorials of how we're doing it. The artists that I work with and the collaborators that I bring onto these projects, they're all posting it. So I'll link to them, and you can find out different artists about like what they're working on through my channel.
Because you either answer, hey, what are your go-tos outside of the normal, Midjourney and ChatGPT that you're loving? And then maybe how you find out about these tools. Are you like head deep into
Mm-hmm.
newsletters? Is it word of mouth? Yeah, either one. Just like some tangible. I want some of our folks to walk away with like, oh shoot, Quinn suggested I go check out this, database, or I go check out this tool. Like I would love some homework for the people who are listening.
Yeah, it's a really good question. You know, as I said, things are always slipping out from mind. It's like I think the one thing that I've learned from all the events that I've been going to and all the community I've been building is we all feel it. I don't think there's any single person out there that is wrapped their head around everything. It's impossible. I mean, there's just too much happening too quickly. Here's what I do is I go to an event, meet people, you just meet these like-minded people, and then they'll tell you about the next kind of like, oh, me and a few friends are getting together to do like this random hackathon, or we're getting together to just discuss AI, or like a community where we all eat breakfast together and we just talk about AI. Like these are things, they're out there. And I think, Todd Terrazas has AILA. That's an incredible community to be part of.
Who's that?
Tools.
Just
Todd Terrazas? Yeah, no. The tools that I use, like the one that I have somebody told me about that I love is Pi. I know it's maybe not that niche, but like, man, I love Pi because it just talks me through my day. And I don't know, it's like every time I show anybody, that's the one I usually show. Like somebody who has no idea what AI is, I just put AirPod in and talk to this for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And their reactions every time are, oh my God, and glow up.
I think I really echo the sentiment. I think it's phenomenal being in this city. I think so many people are getting together and sitting and having pizza and talking about why this is that, and oh, you should check out this. So I just want to echo that sentiment. And also I'm going to post hopefully some pictures of your cast. I saw this and behind them at the film premiere back in November, I guess, which feels like literally decades ago. But Quinn, thank you so much for chatting with me, and thank you for hanging out, and thank you for now living close, and now I can have a new neighbor. Is there any quote or any vibe or anything you want to leave the audience on as we wrap up this convo?
Ooh, that's a good question. Thank you for having me too. I want to just touch on that, but I think like there's two things that I usually like to echo. I found just true in my life. Not that I like to echo them, but like I definitely am in this camp that AI is amplifying artists, not replacing them. So I think like anybody who is afraid of that sort of shift, this like tectonic shift that we're going through. I mean, I'm not unique in saying that. I know that there's a lot of people who share that, but just to put my pebble in the lake, it's that it's like really these tools, like there's this demystifying of AI that we need to wrap our heads around, that they're just tools. It's like when Photoshop came out and people could manipulate images, people thought photography was dead. Authenticity was dead. When the piano player came out and it was an automatic playing piano, everyone said that the piano is dead. We're never going to need artists anymore. And it's never been the case. And so AI is amplifying artists is one. And the other is, I think what I said earlier is that nobody's ahead of this thing. And there's like the best time to have gotten into this was 2 years ago, but the next best time to get into this is today. And so I think like it's never too late to just jump in, start learning and trying it out. There you go.
There you go. Well,
Sarah,
Quinn,
thank you so much.
Thank you for chatting with me. Yes, I'm sure I'll see you around the neighborhood, maybe on the bike, who knows? But again, looking forward to watching your work, and I'll put down here where folks can find you and see your incredible work that you've done.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye.